Hello. I might have not shaken hands with Sinatra, but I do know better than to write off the Raiders when they are playing in Las Vegas. For those who doesn't understand the reference, you better watch Ocean 11, 12 and 13, but after this video. Welcome to the City of Sins, welcome to Las Vegas. This episode of Road to Super Bowl is going to be about the Raiders. So with no further ado, let's start with taking a look how they did in last year's draft. We start with Brock Bowers, and I was a huge fan of this pick, and 1 year later, let's be fair, he was playing like a top 3 tight end in the league. I don't think he should have been the first like the first all-pro tight end. That went way too far. I kind of do understand that, with him not being able to win Offensive Rookie of the Year because of, Jaden Daniels. They wanted to give him some other things to be cheering about, but let's be fair, George Kittle was better tight end than Brock Bowers was this year. Because, let's be fair, Brock Bowers is exceptional in one part of what tight end is supposed to do, which is catching the ball. In that, he is already, as good as anybody pretty much in that position. Though, you may question whether he is actually a tight end, because most of his snaps he's playing as a slot wide receiver. But in terms of blocking, that's just not his forte. And for me, Kittle will take note in that for freaking sure. He's one of the best blockers tight end in the league. And beside that, he has very similar hands to Bowers. But still, for Brock Bowers, what a first season it was. Love this pick. I felt like Raiders were not in a position that you need to rush anything in terms of we are in our Super Bowl window. We actually think like we are going to win something. And they just took the best player available, in my opinion, at that position with Brock Bowers. Absolute beast of a player. And he just absolutely proved that year one. I was a huge fan of their other pick with Jackson Powers-Johnson. And again, I feel like I was right. Though there is some things, it's majorly one thing that concerns me a little bit. That's penalties. 14 penalties is too much. You also can associate him with bad snap against the Chiefs that kind of lost Raiders that game, though there was some questionable officiating along the way as well. Okay. We have cat's intrusion here. So if you hear something crashing or if you see a tail, you know what happened. Well, back to JPG. I feel like year one was really good, though for me to call him A+ player right now, I would probably lower that grade to A. I expected him to be slightly better. In terms of raw stats, he was, but the penalties and one mistake that cost them the game, I do kind of hold it against him. But when he was lower tier of decent starters entering the year, he definitely improved to upper tier of decent starters, and I definitely expect him to make a good starter in my rankings very, very soon. Then there was Delmar, aka DJ Glaze, and let's be fair, not very many people were a fan of this pick. I was neither. And DJ was like, yeah guys, you don't understand because I am a beast of a player and I'm going to show you. And he did. I'm not saying he's best tackle in the league or whatever. He had his flaws, but for a first year tackle, this went even better than expected. You do have expectations for tackles to play like this if they are drafted in top 15. DJ was drafted 77 overall. For a lot of people, it was a reach. And he showed, it wasn't. I'm very excited what the future holds for him and overall the offensive line with the Raiders, because with him and JPG here, they seem like they've struck really good. Jonah Laulu didn't really play that much in terms of quality. He was kind of forced to play because of some injuries along the defensive line. He was not necessarily a guy that you expect to play, well, hence him being almost one of the last picks of the draft. And he kind of showed why. There were some flashes, but as of right now, he is just not ready to be an NFL starter. And he kind of was never in that position, though with his age, I do understand why they trust that he might survive out there. Like, he survived, but he definitely made things worse. Hey, come on, like, sorry guys. Let's follow up with players that really didn't play that much in Tommy Eichenberg, Dylan Laub, and Trey Taylor. With Tommy, I was a bit disappointed in that, though I, for some reason, have bad position him. He's obviously not a guard, he is a linebacker, so sorry for that. He got out there like for one game pretty much against the Denver. Rest of the year he only played like 78 snaps and he didn't look very good in them. So a little bit of disappointment, but with linebacker position it's always a bit of a question mark, or to like expect someone to hit year one. So this is definitely a player that I'm like not willing to change his grade based on 1 year because of the position especially. So with that being said, that's all for the rundown of this draft. As you saw, pretty much every prime draft picks that they've made, so first 3 rounds, made a huge impact. All of them played almost entire season, almost every snap, and all of them were very good and very vital for now and for the future of the Raiders. Now let's move towards QBs. Well, we knew entering the 2024 that this is not necessarily a very exciting room. Gardner Minshew had his, let's say, good year with the Colts, but not necessarily one that you would be like, yeah, we expect huge things from him. We expect him to be bridge QB, like one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the league in terms of his current ability, but not necessarily a guy that has a ton of improvement or has like untapped physical talents that he can still show off. And he pretty much played like one. To me, he's one of the players that I root for, but I do understand that it's just not going to happen for them in terms of them being starters that can take you somewhere. I feel like his floor is good, and for what he is costing you, which is around like 15 million a year, he's not going to hold you back actively. But in a division where you have Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and Newly Bo Nix, he will always be the 4th best, and they will definitely need to upgrade on this position. There was some buzz around Aiden O'Connell after his first year, in which like he kind of benched Jimmy Garoppolo, though you can make an argument that Jimmy benched himself. With him being very old prospect, already 27 this year, and we have just 2 full seasons in NFL for him, there was an expectation that maybe he can be kind of similar to what Minshew is, but on a rookie deal, and that these two will battle it out and we just go with a better QB available. It mostly went like who is playing less worse and who is actually healthy. I wouldn't necessarily say that there was much of quality battle there for these guys. So neither of them really secured starting position for next year, though I will not put it past the organization to trust Minshew with 1 more year for where they need to go or what they need to do in 2025, but we will talk about that later. 2024, neither of them really showed a step up in their game, and they were kind of what we expected them to be. It's crazy, by the way, that Minshew is only 2 years older than Aiden O'Connell, by the way. That's crazy. Like, think about how long you have Minshew in the league, like his Jags days, years with Colts or year with Colts, now with Raiders, and you have a pretty much guy entering his third year in NFL, and it's just 2 years difference between them. Now let's move towards running backs, and I would say that this was pretty much very similar conversation. They were entering here without a good running back room, without a great running back, obviously letting Josh Jacobs go, and kind of everyone played towards that rankings. Yeah, like this was, and unless something changes, is going to be one of the worst, if not the worst, running back rooms in the league. Like, the only guy that, like, I would say surpassed his expectation was Amir Abdullah, but it's like he's almost 32 years old, and just like, yeah, what does that do for you for the future? So he was there. You didn't felt as bad about him as you felt about Mattison, and unfortunately Zamir White, I feel like, was the guy that we all hoped that could develop, could potentially be, I wouldn't say Josh Jacobs' replacement, because in Josh Jacobs we are talking about like top 5, top 10, depends on who you ask, running backs in the league. And Zamir White had some interesting flashes prior to the season, but in this one he just did not follow up on them, largely due to injury. And yeah, now he's entering his last year of rookie deal, and his chance might be gone, which is unfortunate for both him and the Raiders. Let's go towards wide receivers, and obviously the big talk here would be them letting go Devontae Adams towards Jets midway through the season. He kind of like refused to play anymore in a way. I wanted to play with Aaron Rodgers. There was some turmoil out there, and I feel like they made a good decision not to force anything. They let him go. They didn't necessarily get bad compensation for him, given what his paycheck and at this point of his career his qualities are. And they had one guy step up in terms of pure wide receivers, and that was Jacoby Myers. In his second season of his 3-year deal, which they paid him like 3 years, 33 million, he definitely improved, which is actually quite like how would you say it? Quite. Okay, let's just say good for him, because it was not necessarily thought that he will reach this quality later in his career. Like, he was always solid, but I thought that his peak might have been as a good starter. But I really feel like he stepped up, and in an offense where Brock Bowers, as we will talk about him in a later part of these videos, is your primary weapon, Jacoby as your secondary, that will do. Next to him, unfortunately, when we talk about wide receivers, Trey Tucker, guy that was like thought to be, yeah, if we see enough improvement from him, we might really have something there. They've invested late for a round pick in him 2 years ago. It wasn't as good as we hoped, though I would say that like his skill set does not necessarily match well enough with Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew's abilities, because he is much more of a deep threat, and neither of these guys have a really strong arm. So we will see if there would be someone. Perhaps Russell Wilson is talked about, his reunion with Pete Carroll, which would be interesting. We might see Trey Tucker unlocked. He's still in his third year, or will be entering his third year. And like the fact that DJ Turner pretty much is the third wide receiver in terms of snaps on this roster, or was, like not counting Devontae Adams, is kind of sad, because DJ Turner just is not a player that should be playing 359 snaps in the league. I'm sorry, DJ, but that's just it. Like how old he is? Let me check on that one. Yeah, 28 already. They might bring him back because he is restricted free agent, so he's going to be very cheap, around 1 million. But like he should be your 6th, 7th option that you might like lose his spot towards rookies in training camp, but not getting so many snaps. With that being said, we will push towards tight ends room, and the reason why they like were in a situation in which like DJ Turner were actually called upon so many times is the plan was we are going to be in 12 personnel quite a lot that year because we have really good tight ends, especially in Brock Bowers. They obviously liked what they saw from Michael Mayer, and I cannot disagree. I cannot agree more. Like I feel like Michael Mayer is a very interesting player, but that went a little bit like out of the window because both him and Harrison Brand had some injuries. So because of that, they were not really able to be in 12 personnel as much as they would like to, which made them use 3 wide receiver sets much more. And after trading Devontae Adams, they really were not deep in that room. But towards the actual performance, I feel like you are getting pretty much what you expected from Harrison Bryant. From Michael Mayer, a lot of people were questioning the pick of Brock Bowers because of Michael Mayer, because they've spent like early second on him in 2023 draft, and he had really good rookie season, and they were like, well, why are drafting Brock Bowers when you have Michael Mayer? Well, first of all, these two guys can absolutely play next to each other. Michael Mayer is even better blocking tight end than Brock Bowers, and Brock Bowers is like a pass catching specialist, so they're definitely meshing very well. And if anything, I feel like this move could be beneficial for Michael Mayer, because if they will they can use him as this like kind of secret weapon in terms of, well, in the short to intermediate game, they will need to cover Brock Bowers, and sometimes Michael Mayer can just lose from his blocks and be a secret guy that nobody accounts for in the defense. So I really feel like this draft pick made sense, and it doesn't push down Michael Mayer. So the fact that he didn't have a good season was, I feel like, because of the injury, because of not really good play calling in Vegas, and also because of his quarterback play was just mediocre at best. But overall, this tight end room is pretty good going forward with Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. That they are a duo that you should be excited about, and I will not be shocked if after this year we see a ES, which is my highest grade, elite starter and important starter for Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers respectively, obviously, with Brock being the elite tight end. Now let's take a look on this offensive line, which was one of bright spot for this team because of rookies, but even veterans, especially Colton Miller, definitely hold their own. He proved that he is franchise left tackle, absolute rock solid. I mean, he is not, like, you might even say that he's not top 10 left tackle, which is like insane because he is exceptional, but there is like so much talent at left tackle position because everybody was like, yeah, we need to protect our blind side, we need to spend big, and there's so many really insane left tackles in the league. But Colton Miller is definitely a guy that you are super happy to have, and it was nice to see him out there for the whole season. Let me check on one thing. Yeah, because the year before he missed some games because of the injuries, but overall his health is absolutely not a problem. He is already over 7,000 snaps in his 7 years in NFL, which is really, really nice. So this is definitely a guy that, you know, if I'm choosing him or, for example, Andrew Thomas, I feel like Thomas is slightly better player, but I would choose Colton Miller because of his health being really impeccable. Though we might say that given that he's 30, will his body start to tear down because of how much he's already played? We will see that for next year. When we talked about guys that were a pleasant surprise, it was not Terry Manford, unfortunately. Things just do not click for him. He had some flashes in past years, but he is just a good backup at best, and we will see where he lands after 2025 season, because this is going to be last year of his contract. But you don't have to be worried, because you found DJ Glaze, who should be your rock solid starting right tackle next season and seasons to follow. I don't necessarily feel like sky is the limit for him. I feel like he has some limitations in terms of where his ceiling is at, but I do feel like you will kind of on average end up with a good starting right tackle, which is very nice find. And if he is even better, like more good to the Raiders and obviously to DJ. So these are your tackles. Now we look at what we thought was centers, but JPG went and played guard most often. And it's because they kind of drafted him with this vision in mind. We have Andre James as our experienced veteran player, and in some years we do either expect you to just be guard and be a really great guard, or we can move you into the middle if we are not happy with what Andre James is doing. The thing is, they are not happy with what Andre James is doing, but JPG looks very good as a guard, so we will see how this ends. With Andre, you have to appreciate his career, because he's an undrafted guy that was just absolutely, fighting for his opportunity. He finally got his payday. It was somewhere in terms of 3 years, 24 million. So he's probably set for life, unless he makes some bad decisions in life. Because even after taxes, that should be over 12 millions. And don't tell me you cannot live your whole life on $12 million. Come on. But in terms of his actual performance on the field, given how, I would say, good the Rockies around him play, which if you tell me that he played like he did, I would be like, okay, I'm not shocked, because there was a lot of inexperience around him. But actually, those guys looked better than him. And that's worrying, and it's also a shame, because if he was playing to his standard, which I feel like is better than what he showed this season, this O-line even last year could have been something really nice. Not special, but could be in the future, but really nice. As of right now, I felt like he was kind of the weakest link on that offensive line, which is kind of a shame. In terms of what they had next to him, Dylan Parham, really good year. They have him for one more season, but another quite a nice developmental hit for this offensive line, where they did not necessarily, they've built this offensive line from guys that, beside Colton Miller, you don't find any first round picks, and you have really nice and solid offensive line, which is telling you really a lot about how they were able to develop these linemen. And even when they lost Carmen Brisillo, their offensive line coach, or did they lose him? I think they did, right? I think he moved before last year. Yeah, he moved to Giants. But despite them losing him, they were still able to maintain this development and even put it on some young guys that just went through the draft. And another positive on this line that you did not necessarily expect it was Jordan Meredith. Again, when we talk about Jordan Meredith, he's undrafted, free agent, taken by Rams in 2021, older prospect, 27 years old. And look at the season he had. Like, he was a stud as offensive stud as a guard, and I'm like, of course, this is like, let's say, first glance of this real quality for him, and with his pedigree, you are a little bit worried if this is him, but like, he looked like very good player. Like, honestly, this grade doesn't match his performance. It's just like, it's 574 snaps for a guy that didn't show anything close to this until the season. So like, what are you making from that? So really, and that's where I'm like on Andrew James, like, dude, like, the guys around you actually played really, really well. So we will see what they do. Jordan should definitely be back. He is a restricted free agent, so they should be able to sign him to a cheap deal back. And this offensive line, they might be cooking, and it might be with James even on the bench, because who is there saying that Parham and Meredith are not your starting guards? In Cody Whitehair, they picked him up from the Bears, which gutted this experienced veteran. I think he was brought here because they were not sure like what JPG quality was going to be. They definitely did not expect Meredith to be as good as he is. So he was here as a kind of experience option, and he kind of looked out of place here in a limited starts that he got. And it might be that his career is over at this point, though it was very good career, so I didn't want to necessarily lower him in the end, because there is a lot of respect I have for what Cody did, especially with the Bears. So that's pretty much your whole offense. Now let's switch to the defensive side of the ball. We start with edge, and obviously the conversation cannot start with anyone else but Max Crosby. Max has had, by his standards, bad season. It was still a season when he had 8 sacks, and he was an impactful player, but he did not look elite. What I learned, what I've read, and what I think I saw on the pitch is he was playing through some injuries pretty much from the start of the season. He just wanted to battle it out. You know that he is the type of guy that you are 0-16 team, is 0-15 last game of the season. His leg is half broken. He would still want to play. Like, he is that. Like, he is absolutely grateful to be in NFL, to be able to fight his demons from the past and just put him out there. He is a great leader, and I definitely wish him both recovery in terms of whatever it was that was like bugging him this year, but also that he stays clean for the rest of his life, because at the end of the day, they might be the most important thing for him. Next to him, Tyree Wilson, first round from 2 years ago, was better, was definitely looking playable, and he's not where you want him to be in terms of his development, but after first year, this was almost as good as you could have hoped for, especially when we consider that Max didn't necessarily play to the best of his abilities. The next big signing that they made in Christian Wilkins got injured very soon into the season, so Tyree was actually facing even more attention from the opposing offensive lines that you've imagined before the season, because the thought was, well, he's going to be like the third piece that, you know, will get a lot of one-on-one reps, and he should be winning them. With Max being slightly injured during the whole year, Wilkins being out, suddenly you can focus on Wilson much more, and he stood up for the challenge. So good development from him, and let's hope that he makes another huge step towards the future next year. In terms of Keilaman Chiasson, you kind of got what you expect from him at that point, at this point of his career. Not necessarily someone that you do associate with like huge improvements. Obviously, he is former first round pick, just like Tyree Wilson, but 2 years prior to him. And like with him, I wouldn't say like the ship has passed, but the fault of him as being like a special player, I don't think it's on anybody's mind. Like if it didn't happen up to this point, it's probably not going to happen now. But they got probably his best year out of him, and he was kind of a nice addition to this room. Also, just signing for 1 year, he was definitely worth a punt, and he made it work. And we will see where he lands. I do expect him to sign something around like 2 years, 8 to 10 million type of deals, like kind of value third rotational HPs that will focus mostly on his pass rushing because his run defense is lacking a bit. And we will see if he develops, because he is not that old. He was drafted as a 20-year-old, and despite this was already his 5th season, he will be just 26 when the new season begins. Would they like to have him back here? I definitely think so. In terms of interior, we already talked about Christian Wilkins. I like the idea, let's pair Max Crosby next to an amazing interior player in Christian Wilkins. He was the highest paid non-QB free agent last season. Unfortunately, his year ended up after like 4 or 5 games. We will see what this room is going to be with him, hopefully for the whole season. With him going down, they were kind of in a situation similar to the Giants with like Dexter Lawrence, which is, well, we have one top guy and then we really don't have much. And when this one top guy goes down, the rest just looks miserable. I mean, not miserable, but bad. And Adam Butler, John Jenkins kind of gave you their best, but unfortunately their best is not something that you want out there playing majority of the snaps. Both of them are veterans. Jenkins almost 36 years old, Butler just turning 31 very soon. So I do understand that, but like how they created this room. But in the situation, then Wilkins go down, you are left with nothing, pretty much not nothing. Like I don't want to disregard these guys. Like they definitely can play football in capacity that 0.0001% people on this planet can. So no disrespect meant, but in terms of what wins you games in NFL, they are just not up to that level at this point of their careers. In terms of some of the backups, we already talked with Laulu, like 7th rounder. Yeah, he was out there. Like he did not necessarily perform like super bad, like compared to the expectations, but he's just not an NFL level player as of right now. In terms of Snowden, that was not a bad year for him. Where is he in terms of his? He is another restricted free agent. He's kind of a journeyman. Started with Bears, then to the Bucks this year, to the Raiders. This was his best year of his career, and I would not be shocked if they bring him back as kind of edge number 4 to give them some quite nice backup snaps. Now we move towards linebacker room, and then there's one name that definitely stands out, and it's Robert Spillane. He is example of linebacker position taking a little bit longer to figure out in terms of NFL, but with him it's kind of not your usual story, because he is not this athletic freak that was drafted high and was real disappointment on his rookie deal and then he figured it out later. he is undrafted. He doesn't have huge traits. Like he's just, I wouldn't say like he's just regular dude, but he's he's, let's say, relatively normal athletic player compared to a lot of guys, especially for this position. But his just sheer demeanor make them look like geniuses, I would say, when they signed him 2 years ago for, I think it was like 2 years, 7 million, something like that. Let me recheck myself on this one. Yeah, and he outplayed that contract, really out there. And right now his market value should be around 10 millions per year, and absolutely justifiably so. Because he is not this freak of nature in terms of athleticism, he lacks like hip movement and ability to change direction on the spot to be a beast in coverage, but he is playing with demeanor, and he will not let you pass him. Like if you are trying to run the ball and you meet Robert Spillane down the way, you are not getting past. Like 110 tackles definitely says. So next to him, Luke Masterson, Divine Diablo. It's like okay-ish room, because again we are talking about linebackers who are not necessarily praised super highly, and the fact that neither of them really allowed Tommy Eichenberg on the field kind of says that they were good enough. Both of them are out of contracts, and with Eichenberg still, I don't think anybody breaks a stick. Do you have, guys? Do you have this? Like when you break a stick, it's like you are done with someone. Let me know down in the comments if you have this saying in English. As you can see, I am not an English native speaker from Czech Republic, just if anybody cares and knows where Czech Republic is. So I will not be shocked if they do not bring either one of these guys back, though with Masterson they have a chance to bring him back for really cheap, so he will probably be there just because of that fact. So he gives you some perhaps better floor than Eichenberg does for this position. But either one of these guys I do expect to start next to Robert Spillane, who is out of contract, but I would be shocked if they do not try to bring him back, because I feel like Pete Carroll specifically will absolutely love him, because he reminds me of Bobby Wagner, obviously not at that level, but in terms of what he can do, in terms of leadership, in terms of his mentality, I think that's say 85% on Bobby Wagner you have in Robert Spillane, and that's a pretty good player. Now let's take a look at the secondary. With safeties, you are in like a weird position, because just it is kind of a team. Both of these guys are out of contract, and both of these guys are good, but neither of them is special. I would say that you've had like one of the better duos in terms of not necessarily a lot of teams have two safeties that they can both count on. It's usually one really good one and one developmental guy that you hope is going to be good, but that is not necessarily the case, or it's like one veteran guy and one very cheap veteran guy, because again, league does not value this position. But you are in a position in which both of these guys are quite good, though neither of them is signed for next year, and I wonder what are you going to do, because neither of them should be like super cheap. Let me check what their expected market value is. Yes, so for Trevor it's 15.7 millions, and for Nate Hobbs is 3 millions, which is like crazy difference. I feel like that's like when this calculation is being made, like Trevor is a better player, but not by this margin, at least in my opinion. But what is probably calculated in is their draft pedigree, because Trevor was second round, and there is an expectation that he still can get better, while with Nate it might be that he is maxed out, which is not necessarily bad thinking though. If you say like you can have Hobbs for 3 millions or you can have Merrick for 16 millions, I'm taking Hobbs all day long. So we will see how this ends up in the future. For what they were in 2024, they were a very nice duo. Nate was like making his transitions from playing corner to playing safety more, which is not something that is uncommon. It's not necessary to safety, but to slot corner. I'm sorry, guys. That's mistake on my part. But he like at some PFF situations he's actually counted as a safety, though he's they kind of do that for slot corners sometimes. So yeah, sorry for that. They were not duo in this regard, but they were kind of the standout players on this secondary, because there was not that much behind them. We can talk about Marcus Epps and Isaiah Polamalu. Though Isaiah has a very famous name, though I don't think he's any relative to Troy Polamalu. Though their names look very similar. Neither of these guys really put up good performances out there. With Marcus, it was cut short due to injury. Isaiah played the whole year and just wasn't able to like make breakout here. Another undrafted talent that they tried to fix some holes that they had on this roster, but you cannot plug every hole with like diamonds that you find in the rough, because sometimes they are there because they are just not diamonds. With Isaiah, like he's a good backup, but not a guy that should be starting and playing 1,000 snaps in the league. The rest of the secondary, Jack Jones, whom you might have had huge expectations after his previous year with the Raiders, where he kind of was this journeyman player, was cut from the Patriots because of some off-field issues. Carrying a gun somewhere, I think it was to the airport or something like that. And yeah, sometimes players do stupid shit, just like Jake did. But when he was playing with the Patriots, he was really good. And when he moved to the Raiders, he was really good as well. But his third year, kind of the year where he was supposed to show that, okay, I've matured. So the truth is he might have matured because he didn't have off-field issues, at least nothing that would prevent him to play the game. When he actually played, he looked quite poorly. So that's a bit of a, I wouldn't say shock, because the sample size of him being good was quite limited, and there is a reason why he just wasn't highly talented or drafted player. He went in the 4th round as a 25-year-old during the draft process. So you would expect him to hit the ground running rather better than a usual rookie because of having much more experience. But when it was the time to really step up his game, which was this year, he did not necessarily do that. Decameron Richardson, Jacorian Bennett, why I have two similar guys. I'm sorry, my mistake. This is a card of Decameron, so Jacorian, I will check out him. Yeah, he was similarly poor, but this is not Jacorian Bennett. My apologies. So this is two cards of Decameron Richardson. Not really sure how this happened. Sorry, guys. But overall, when you take a look at the secondary, there is really not much that you are like super happy with, and this is definitely a position that you need to address within this offseason, because you just cannot enter next year with what they have back there. With that being said, we finished a rundown of this roster, and let's check out where this franchise kind of stands as a whole. We start with head coach Pete Carroll, whom I do give a B. I don't think he's necessarily elite coach anymore, though I absolutely love him and I'm really excited to see him back in the league. You know, guys, I'm a Seahawks fan, so Pete was one of the reasons why when I started watching NFL, why I decided, well, I do love Seahawks, because his energy for his age is just insane. He is clearly someone that absolutely loves football, cherishes the opportunity to be out there and just to be among the players, allowing them to be themselves. So I absolutely love him. I would say his last couple of years with the Seahawks, he got like too much involved in some of the stuff, and also things just were never the same with like the first iteration, like Legion of Boom, Marshawn Lynch after the Super Bowl versus the Patriots. And like the second iteration of the roster, there was just some disputes with Russell Wilson, not necessarily seeing eye to eye about how they should be moving with their offense and overall game plan. And the difference between what Pete was able to do with the defense that I felt like didn't lack talent and what Mike McDonald did this year was really big. So this, for me, he kind of lost this elite status, but I still think he is a very good coach, and I really like this hire because he's, in my opinion, exactly what the Raiders need, which is some form of grown up in the room, stability, energy, and some enthusiasm. Also, him bringing Chip Kelly to run this offense. These are two guys that combined have like 60, 70 years of experience, or 80, a lot of them in college football, a lot of in pros. I'm excited about this duo. I don't think they are like these dinosaurs, because I think they both love football so much that it's not like they are stuck in their ways. They are always thinking about how to improve. So with that being said, 2024 season for the Raiders, obviously in terms of results, did not necessarily go very well. But was there expectation that it's going to be much better? Not really. The fact that they, kind of parted away with Devontae Adams, Christian Wilkins weren't able to show, you didn't see any progress from their quarterbacks. Those are all negatives, but very good draft season. And some of the progress, like from Tyree Wilson, Jacoby Myers, like some progress was made on the roster, and I would say the expectations just weren't that high. So I cannot really say that they screwed up so much, like compared to teams like Jets, for example, or Jaguars, which kind of leads me to give them C-. In terms of QB, it might be controversial that this is just 2 minuses, because if you ask me for the rankings, they would have been ranked bottom 3, bottom 5 in terms of their starting QB. But again, for me, this is not just a grade on how good their starting QB is. It's a grade how much you pay for that. And with Gardner Minshew, you are not really paying that much. So you are paying exactly kind of what you should, though you don't have that much production. So that's why just 2 minuses. In terms of hot seat, I think for Pete is absolutely 1. I feel like I believe that both sides know what they want from each other. I think the owner of this franchise wants a guy that will stabilize, give some stability to this organization that had 3 head coaches over past 5 years, and there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of negativity towards this team, a lot of bad performances. I think Pete should be like a kind of guarantee that this will get cleaned up, and I think this is kind of like 2-year, 3-year type of a project, type of deal that he should transfer them to the future and really make Raiders kind of at home and something that Vegas can be proud of. In terms of finances, I think this is one of the teams that is in very prime position because they have a lot of money, a lot of free money that they can elevate their roster with, and they also have, especially from this draft, a lot of young talent on the roster that is not going to be paid too much for upcoming seasons. And also, I don't think they necessarily have a bad contract on their books. I think like the closest to it is like Andrew James, $8 million a year, which is like, if that's your worst contract that you actually have on your books, that's really insane. Like, I don't think many teams can say that. So in terms of finances, like you might say that it should have been just 2 pluses because they don't necessarily have like a great roster. So it's expected that they have a lot of free cap space. Okay, I would be like, okay, I think it was kind of a coin toss for me between 2 and 3, and I just went for a 3. What's the strength of this team? I think it's lines, and it's both lines. Both offensive and defensive line is kind of well-kept secret because nobody really watches Raiders that much in terms of like national public. You are not turning up to see Gardner Minshew play, right? Like, you know, Raiders are obviously really good fans. There's good fan base, but I don't think that people, when you say Raiders, people will be like, okay, Max Crosby. Someone might be like, oh, Christian Wilkins, they've signed him. Oh, he didn't play much. They are probably not good. And with offensive line, I don't think like Colton Miller is on anybody's radar, like from general perspective, though he is an excellent player. So I think this is kind of well-kept secret that these lines are actually really within potential to be like combined top 5, top 7 in the league as early as late in 2025, depending if they are able to sign one more defensive tackle that will accompany Wilkins, Tyree Wilson's progress, and progress from DJ Glaze, JPG. I really feel like those lines could be very, very good. In terms of division, unfortunately for the Raiders, I mean, from your perspective, you are looking at 3 playoff teams. You are looking at Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Bo Nix in terms of quarterbacks. You are looking at really good coaching staff, you know, Sean Payton, Jesus fuck, Andy Reid, and obviously, I just don't want to mess up Jim Harbaugh. I didn't want to mess up the first name for him. So, you know, you add Pete Carroll into the mix, and this is like insane legacy. Like, you know, I think all of these head coaches are actually going into Hall of Fame, which is like nasty. Like, I'm not sure if there was ever a division in which that would be a case. Well, if you know a division that this was the case, let me know. But overall, like you are against 3 legendary head coaches, against arguably still probably the best QB in the league, against would be my 6th or 7th best QB in Justin Herbert, which a lot of people will hate because he sucked in the postseason. But beside that, he was really exceptional. And against Bo Nix, who had a very good rookie season and is going to be quite cheap for next 4 years. So yeah, good luck with that. With that being said, it's time for rewards. Oh, I didn't put rewards in this. Well, you might... Okay, sorry guys, this seems like I might have had like 2 versions of this presentation, and unfortunately I'm on the wrong one. So we will have to make an improvisation because I know what my rewards are like and who they are going to. So with the draft hit, we are going to award, yeah, you guessed it, Brock Bowers. Absolute star of a player. I do disagree with his first All-Pro accolade, but if second All-Pro, I would be absolutely fine. And I'm just super excited to see him play next season. In terms of draft blunder, I actually would put Tommy Eichenberg there, but it's like can you even? It's a weird position to be really good year one. And it's like, it would just be the case because I expected something from him, even year one, and he did not deliver that. But like, this is one of those cases where draft blunder is really hard to find. Like Johan Lalu, he was, he didn't play well, but he was a 7th rounder, so I don't really consider him draft blunder at all. In terms of cornerstone for this franchise, it was hard to pick one for the Raiders because I was unsure whether I want to go for Brock Bowers or if I want to give it to Max Crosby. And in the end, despite his slightly down year, I still feel like he was dead for them even in the season because he just refused to give up despite him not playing up to his standards, despite him not playing what everybody would expected him to, despite playing on bad team, he was still out there, and that's just something you do not like you cannot teach that to someone. That has to be within their blood, within their mentality, and those are the grounds that you want to build a successful team on. I would say if you guys disagree and you give it to Brock Bowers, which like in true definition of the cornerstone, which I really feel like should go to MVP of this team, a guy you want to build on, but also a guy that played the best this season. I think like Brock Bowers probably fits the narrative slightly better than Max Crosby, but to me, just the fact that I would say it's like psychologically, when you are doing great, it's easier to play through injuries. But to play through injuries, despite you are getting not necessarily results you wanted from your team, from your franchise, and even from yourself, and despite that, the sheer will to just go out there and play through it, that's just something I really wanted to embody in this award. In terms of unsung hero, do you guys have a guess? The fact that I'm going towards the defense should have suggested. Yeah, it's Robert Spillane. Man, this is just the type of player that you absolutely love, that he was able to make his breakout, and every bit of money that he's going to get, and I hope he's going to get from Raiders because I do want him back on this roster, he absolutely freaking earned that through hard freaking work, really putting his body down the line every single snap. Like run defense 87.3, that's an insane grade, over 100 tackles. I mean, he's not going to be in like top half starting linebackers, but he should. Like, I think that similar to Max Crosby, when you have these type of guys on the roster, you are just happy as a fan, and especially like as a Raider fans, I feel like these two guys really embody the culture of the Raiders very, very well. And in terms of flop, I went and gave this award to Andrew James. And the thing is, like, I hate to give flops to undrafted guys that really made their way, and I'm really happy that they got paid. And I don't necessarily think like he played super poorly. It's just when the player around him was really good from guys I did not expect it, the fact that he didn't perform to his levels kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like I just wanted to see more from him, so this offense would be better, and the offensive line, like it saddens me that he was the worst piece, because preseason I would say he is the second best that they have. So because of that, he is this flop. But just as with draft blunder, it's not necessarily an award to a player that I think like fully deserves it, because it's just like I had to, or I forced myself to always try to find the player that I feel like was the most fitting for that award or anti-award. And here, to me, it was Andre. Though I really hope that he can spin this around and have a much better year next season. So I'm sorry, this was a little bit weirdly done. Usually we obviously have slides for this. I'm sorry, guys. I will have proper presentation. There is a lot of work that goes into this. I obviously have several versions, and it seems like I've picked up the wrong one, but we make it happen. And now let's focus on what lies in 2025 for the Raiders. And I have a vision for this team. Hear me out. What I want this team to do is be the run first, run heavy, physical team that is going to be the pain in the ass. I think that was the vision last year too, but they did not necessarily deliver on that. But I think they have right personnel for it now. I think they have money to make it happen, and they have right coaching staff for that. So with that being said, I present to you how I envision this team to look going forward. So I think I would actually keep Gardner Minshew as my starting QB. I would not go and draft another guy this season. I feel like you are in a good position in terms of nobody expects you to make playoffs next year because of the division, because of quality, because of rebuild, etc., etc. And with that being said, with, I would say, lower expectations, you can make it work with Gardner Minshew. And if somehow he has a real exceptional year, you can decide what to do next season. If you go and you will end up being like 7-10, 8-9, you have quite a nice pick in terms of a draft, and you go and try to find your guy next season. I feel like Gardner is good QB for run-heavy system. He should be able to give you what's there and not necessarily, though, like, I don't know, sometimes he tries to do hero ball. I think Pete Carroll will try to pull it out of him a little bit, but I think he should suit this very well. In terms of offensive line, I feel like these guys are there to just improve. I hope Andrew has a good recovery year, comeback year, and the rest of the O-line is really nice. And I don't expect Colton Miller to drop, and I do expect all three of the still young guys to develop much more. So I feel like this O-line should allow you to absolutely do what you want. All of these guys are very good run blockers, perhaps slightly with exception of Andrew James, which might be why they could switch a little bit into thinking that they definitely bring Jordan Meredith back, and they might push JPG towards the center and play Meredith as a guard. So we will see about that one. That's also a possibility. I definitely think he's going to be back on the roster. In terms of your skilled players, here I usually do with either running back or a wide receiver, but I definitely want to live in 12 personnel. So I want Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer on the field as much as possible. With that being said, I'm absolutely okay with Jacoby Myers being my best wide receiver. Trey Tucker as my deep threat, I think is a part of a rotation of 3 players. And I do believe you should strive to bring a good wide receiver here, but not necessarily like high-paid one, because you don't need to have 3 exceptional wide receivers there. I would not go and, for example, like draft Ted McMillan here. I don't think that's, at least for my vision for this team, that's not how I would build it. So second round wide receiver or some like veteran, it would just be somewhere between decent starter, good starter, and a guy that's like rotating with Trey Tucker and giving you what you need on snap-by-snap basis. Where I would invest heavily is a running back position. Zamir White I can have as a backup, but I want my running back. So, with that being said, is it too rich to draft Ashton Jeanty with 6th overall pick? It is. I think it is. But if they do it, I would not mind. I think he is that good of a prospect that you can make it happen. The ideal situation to me is you draft down towards like 9 or 10 and draft GMaty there, because I feel like he should still be out there. That would be like my ideal solution. But if you don't feel like you can make that happen, you don't get really nice offers, or you are worried that somebody will snatch him, just take him number 6. I would not freaking mind. A lot of people would be like, you cannot take running back number 6. I mean, guys, you can. And you can take Ashton GMaty. Trust me. Trust me on this one, because I would not put it past Ashton GMaty, especially in what I really envision this offense would look like. Really a lot of run game, huge offensive line, 2 tight ends, so 12 personnel, really mulligan on the ground. I would not put it past GMaty to have 1,500 yard season in year 1, and even more. So if that's the type of guy and that's the type of a plan you are committing yourself offensively to, why not spend premium there? I would do it. So again, I want to mine value, so if I can draft down to 10 and take GMaty there, I would obviously do that. In terms of my backups, there is Jesus. I'm pissed at myself, because here there should have been Jordan Meredith, definitely a guy that I'm bringing back and possibly even starting. Tyron Manford in his last year I will take as my backup tackle. Harrison Bryant I would bring back as a veteran tight end option that I do want to have, and I would not hesitate to invest in this room even more, whether it's through the draft or most likely through free agency. I would want to bring another blocking specialist tight end into this room, because like I said, I want to freaking run the ball. I think with Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll, it's going to match their game plan absolutely freaking well. It's going to make really good use of Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers, and I think it's the type of game that they can absolutely win some tough games, and even like within this division, they can cause some upsets with. In terms of the rest of this team, it might be that Aiden O'Connell is my backup QB, though I left this possibility kind of open, because there could be some guys that you just take a chance on with like 3rd or 4th round in this draft, and I would actually like them to do so, because there are some interesting prospects there that I would like to see on this roster much more than Aiden O'Connell, who I just don't think it's necessarily in there. So I would be up for that. Even trying for a guy like Joe Milton to snatch him from Patriots for a 3rd round. He could, again, like if we already talked about him in Patriots episode, but if you persuade him to be like more of a Taysom Hill type of a guy than necessarily just a pocket, not a pocket QB, because he is never going to be there, but just a pure QB, he could be very interesting in this system. So another kind of landing spot that I can envision for him to go. In terms of running back, like I said, it could be Zamir White, but did he necessarily made me believe that he's even worth this role, especially with this draft? I might double dip into running backs next to GMaty, get someone, and he will fight it out with Zamir White and training camp. So this would be my offense. And in terms of defense, the D-line is pretty much set. Obviously, with the 6th pick, you can think about Mason Graham, and if he is still out there, because next to Wilkins, this could be very nice room to have. In terms of second linebacker, I'm not really sure whether they will go for an experienced veteran there, or whether they will try to draft there, or if they promote someone within, whether it's Eichenberg, or bring back Masterson, or if they just Diablo next to Spillane and bring him back. So for me, this is with a huge question mark. I would probably try Masterson, try Eichenberg, because like I said, there are not necessarily expectations for me, so let's give a young lad a chance. Well, where I'm not necessarily willing to experiment is this secondary. I feel like you need to bring quality here. In terms of Trevon, like his price tag is kind of hefty for me, for my liking. Though if you are able to sign him like to 3 years, 35, 40 millions, which could be reasonable for him, and you still obviously hope that he's going to develop, I would try to bring him back. If not, I'm not like really super worried about that, because I feel like I can bring some veterans here. I think Quandradix, like Loki, should be absolutely connected to the Raiders, because I don't think that there is any bad blood with him and Pete Carroll, and I would say it's actually the other way around. So I do see this as a landing spot for Quandradix. But like this secondary needs an overhaul, and at this point I'm not really sure how they will attack it, whether it's going to be through free agency or through the draft, and I'm not really sure like what type of players Pete Carroll will want to bring in here. So I left a lot of spots open because I just don't know, man. I like the only thing that to me is certain that Jack Jones is there, because he still has 1 year left on his deal, and for $3 million he is still a bargain. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like Isaiah Palmo is going to be back on cheap deal. I'm kind of certain with that, and he's probably going to be part of some packages, because it's unlikely that you completely revamp the secondary, that there is going to be like 5 new players. So I do have him here. Beside that, I'm just not freaking sure, because there is just not much to take from. Like as of right now, they have players signed for combined around like 11 millions for the entire secondary. So that kind of says you where they are. And I did not put any players in here in terms of my projected free agents signing. Like I'm talking about Quandradix because I think he would fit here, but it would like ended up okay. So Quandradix fits five teams. Well, obviously he can only be at one, and like guessing this is like, well, there is 42 teams. Okay, let's say 15 teams don't need him, but 17 teams could use a guy like him, and it's just a guessing game, right? So I would not really bother myself or bother you guys with his image here. I just wanted to talk about the possibility that do make sense. In terms of backups for the secondary and overall, like they do have some. Malcolm Koonce could be back. The same could go for, we talked about, Charles Snowden. I feel like he could also be back. With Malcolm Koonce, he had low-key very good season, but that also made him very expensive for them. And like when I see on Spotrac, they do imagine him getting contract around 20 million a year, which like if that's the price, I'm definitely not bringing him back. Like that's too much for me. Like they have him in like an area of Montez Sweat, Eric Armstead. I just don't see it. Like yeah, there is still some untapped potential, but it's not like he is this first round freak. Man, like let me just give you some things on Malcolm Koonce. It's not like I hate him by any stretch of imagination, but what's going on? Some glitch. Sorry, guys. Yeah, these are obviously his stats from 2023. He did not play in 2024. That's why we didn't have him in the rundown. So he showed a lot of promise, but like overall he played 617 snaps in NFL. Like yeah, his last year he looked superb, but do you really put a 20 million price tag on this type of a player? Like I think that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I think for him like obviously if anybody offers you this type of deal, you just take it. But I think the best and the most like rational way how teams should approach him is like offer him 1 year 8 to 10 millions. Well, you showed that you can be very, very good, but on super limited sample size, you had problem with injuries. Show us that you can replicate that, and then we will pay you like future contract. Obviously, like 8 millions is a really nice money. And I think that's what I would do if I'm Raiders. If someone offers him a long-term contract and they want to take like a huge money chunk at him, I'm just like, okay, nice to know you, Malcolm, but I'm just not willing. Despite they have financial flexibility to do so, I don't think they are in a spot that they should be doing that for Malcolm Kuntz. Yeah. So I was like, what's going on for me? With that being said, this was a little bit distracted episode. I will do better. It might have been like, I was super excited to make this one because like the vision that I have for the Raiders, and I actually feel like those two guys, Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll, could bring to life. So, when I'm saying like what I would do with this team and that team, there were times like, well, it's probably not going to happen. Here I actually feel like it might align for what they want to do, and I would be like super excited to watch them. That offensive line, bring some top talent into the defensive line, run the damn ball, and just be a nuisance, and hopefully like beat Chiefs on the Christmas Day again, like they did 2 years ago. I think they need to be that type of team. They wanted to be that last year. It just failed in terms of like you want to play hard, but when your top guys go down and when you don't get results, it's really hard to maintain despite like good energy that were coming from their former head coach. Antonio Pierce. So okay, I just want to like give you a brief rundown. So you have John Gruden from 2018 to 2021, then Rick Bisaccia for 2021. He kind of was there as an interim head coach. Then you had Josh McDaniels, then Antonio Pierce. So like with Finn, from 2018 to 2025, Pete is their 5th coach, and I just hope he brings stability. And I think through hard play, and I think he's absolutely willing to run the damn ball, and I hope they will. So with that being said, I'm sorry for some of the legs of my presentation in this one. I hope you still enjoyed this one as much as I did, because I really enjoyed talking about Raiders. And I do not expect big things from them, but I do expect to be entertained while watching them next season. With that being said, thank you very much. Please leave a like, please leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't. Watch other videos that are made for this Road to Super Bowl season, or you can check my videos from last season, preview of what was supposed to happen in 2024. You can bash me there, if I was right or wrong. I would say it was not that bad. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.